Hello, welcome back to A Course in Miracles, and we're going through the workbook for students. So I'm Tomas Garza, and thank you, as always, for joining me, whether you have tuned in from my own YouTube channel or Enlightened World Network's YouTube channel. Thank you for watching, and above all else, thank you for your interest in your spiritual practice, whatever that looks like. If you are a longtime student of A Course in Miracles, great. If you are not a student of A Course in Miracles, great, welcome. It's universal. It's a self-study curriculum, as you may know, which means it applies universally. Universal means all universal. Right? Across the board. So whatever you get from this video, in fact, whatever you get from any of the videos that I've done and will do in the future is what you're meant to get on a given day. So I always wonder what that will be. Of course, my job as the teacher is to simply show up and share with you. It's part of the beauty of this. I don't know, and in fact, no teacher knows when they're sharing what someone is going to get out of it. But there's a reason that you're watching this today or tonight. It could be 4 o'clock in the morning or 2:30 in the morning, wherever you are. And here you are watching me. So thank you for your practice. Yes, for your support, subscriptions, things like that. But really what's most important is that you are doing this. Not only are you interested in spirituality, which is saying quite a lot, because there are so many people in our world today who do not appear the slightest bit interested in spirituality, right? And then there are many people who claim to be, but when it comes right down to it, they're maybe not ready, right? So you clearly are, or you wouldn't be watching. So I thank you for your willingness, that this means something to you and that you're doing something about it. It doesn't have to be with this course, by the way. A Course in Miracles is not a religion. It does not say you must adhere to this and only this, come to this building and only this building. Well, there's no building by design, right? It's entirely by design because Jesus knows what he's talking about, and he knows what works for a lot of people here in the 21st century. Yeah, he knows. So let's move on then to the idea for today, which is lesson 307 in the workbook. We're going to be talking about the will of God. What else, right? What else? Lesson 307 is conflicting wishes cannot be my will. Conflicting wishes cannot be my will. Cannot be. In other words, it's not what I want. So think about how when we're feeling cut off in life, in the world, right? When we're running around, we're in conflict with a lot of people sometimes. Nations are in conflict with other nations. Political parties are in conflict with other political parties, grasping for this elusive thing that they call power, which is a complete illusion. And what is it? It can be revoked just as easily as it is granted, right? We appear to be locked in high stakes conflict with each other. We have conflicting wishes because at one moment we want the conflict to end. In other words, we want to experience peace and happiness, or get a 5-minute breather because we're sick of having a knockdown, drag out fight, for example, and we just need some sonic space. Then the next minute we want to punish the other person, don't we? We go back and we think about what this person has said to us or done to us or both, and we plot our course of revenge. These are conflicting wishes. We want peace, we don't want peace. And as we see in A Course in Miracles throughout the workbook, throughout the text, you can't have both peace and non-peace. It's one or the other. You can't have love or fear. It's one or the, well, you can't have love and fear, I should say, because it's one or the other. We have to choose. And we get to choose. That's the cool part. It's the get to in the present moment. Very, very important, which is why I seem to return to this theme in almost every video that I shoot. It's that important. Now, an idea like Lesson 307 is something that we have seen before in different verbiage, in different workbook lessons. It's something that appears in the text of A Course in Miracles, if you're reading that or have read it, or if you go on to go through that material, you'll see variants of this idea. It's really the same idea. Conflicting wishes cannot be our will. Well, it's certainly not the will of God, is it, that we be conflicted? God doesn't have an ego to be offended by all of our actions, by all of our thoughts, by all of our unkind words. God doesn't punish us. We punish ourselves. Perfect love, God, has no ego to be offended. So if you're doing the verbal math, you're not a sinner. There is no sin. You are not a sinner. There is no sin. We simply make mistakes. This is the loving way that A Course in Miracles presents our plight, our situation to us, is we're simply making a mistake. And deep down, it's not our will that we suffer, is it? Even if you seem to be deliberately harming yourself right now, deep down, it's not our will to suffer. It is our will to experience peace, love, joy, boundlessness, tranquility. Yeah? In other words, the peace of God. Now we see in this idea, Lesson 307, something that we see throughout A Course in Miracles. That's the assertion that our will and God's will are one. They are the same. If only God is, then there's only one will, God's will. If you are created as you are, as an extension of God, you're one with your Creator, as you are, each of us is, then there's only one will, the will of God. Your will and the will of God are one. They're one and the same. Now, whether you believe an idea like this or not, well, really, it's up to you. I'm not going to make you. Right? Jesus certainly isn't going to make you. And if you find any of this incredible or difficult to swallow, so to speak, don't worry about it. You're not going to be punished for it. Okay? You're not going to be punished for it unless you decide to punish yourself. Pure and simple. right? This idea for today, which I invite you to sit with and contemplate and meditate on, if that's what you do, practice it however you practice and work with these ideas at this stage in the workbook, where we've gone beyond giving specific practice instructions to take this and apply it, a general instruction. So when you work with this idea, just allow it to percolate in your mind. If that's all that you do, that's of tremendous value. Whether you end up latching on to this idea, whether you end up adopting it or wholeheartedly embracing it, your will and the will of God are one and the same. Nobody that says this says it to be right. It's not a contest. There's no opponent. There's no one out there. We are simply stating the truth. So it's up to each and every one of us. In other words, it's up to you to take this and apply it and sit with this and let this material permeate. A Course in Miracles is multidimensional. It's multidimensional and multifaceted because it operates on so many different layers. And when you're ready for the next layer, it's right there. When you're ready for the next, it's right there. It's meant to be an aid and a manual for all life situations. So each and every lesson in the workbook is in fact an idea that expresses truth in and of itself. And it gives us something to do. This is beautiful. It gives us something to focus on, something to meditate on, something to contemplate, and something just to kick around in your mind, even if you're not sure, even if you think that I'm nuts, which is cool. I don't mind at all. Just sit with the idea that conflicting wishes are not your will, because your will is the will of God.